In this video, I'm going to walk you step by step exactly how I saved over $12,000 without freezing my credit cards, depriving myself, or saying no to nights out. This video is not going to be telling you to budget or to not spend money on lattes or to cut back on spending. This video is going to have 7 unconventional ways to save money. Things that I did and found saving to be quite easy, not painful, almost automatic. And this is stuff you can implement without noticing a whole lot of change that can really impact your finances. It's not about the money we make, it's about the money we keep. So this video is going to touch on 7 of those strategies to do so. Let's get into them now. Way number 1. This is my secret weapon, and I did save over $12,000 with certain rules. A lot of it's going to my trip upcoming that I keep talking about. Might be on it by the time this video is live in July, and you know, I had to come up with a way to save $5,000 without tapping into savings, without tapping into income, without, you know, still paying rent and food and expenses and all that stuff. And this app that I'm going to share with you was my secret weapon. It's called Qapital with a Q. This has been a game changer. My girlfriend turned me onto it, and you can set up these rules to where it automatically senses when you spend money, and it'll round up to the nearest dollar, or round up to the nearest $2 if you program it, or $5. And so these mini deposits that you make into this account add up over time, and this is how I was able to save $12,000, along with some of these other strategies I'll get to in a little bit, but this was the main thing. It's such a cool app. There's also a rule on here called the freelancer rule that I use, because, you know, at the end of the year, or at least in April comes along, and Uncle Sam wants his tax bill. Well, I gotta come up with that because none of this income is really taxed. So the freelancer rule is really cool. You can program to say, okay, Qapital, every single time I make a check or deposit a check into my bank account, because you link it, take 30% of that and put it in this account. And you can stockpile this 30% of everything you make, or 10% or 5% into these mini goals or accounts. Okay, and it's just such a cool app. And this makes it automatic. When you make it automatic, you're able to take the emotional side of saving money, like you're taking something away from yourself, and you're able to automate it, and then you don't get in the way of it. And so I really closed down all my other savings accounts and just used this app, my checking, and a few other banking resources. Between that, that's all I really needed. I mean, this app is a huge lifesaver. So I'll post a link down below, and full disclosure, they did not pay me for this endorsement. It's just an app I'm really passionate about, found it naturally. And if you sign up through the link, you get a cool $5 free on your first deposit. That's what I did, got $5, and I get a free $5 if you sign up. It's a cool way you can support the channel. So that's the main one. The second way I saved $12,000 in about 6 months was that I paid myself first. This comes out of the concept from The Richest Man in Babylon, one of those old school classic book titles that all the grandpas talk about. It's a good book, but the big idea from that is that if you pay everyone else before you pay yourself last, you're not going to be able to get rich. You got to flip that on its head and pay yourself first. Work on your fortune first, and then with the rest of the money, make do. So a part of everything you make should be yours to keep. And in the book, it recommends 10%. So you got to automate it and don't touch it. You save 10% of everything, every single check you make, and don't touch it. Third tip, ice cream in the freezer. What do I mean by that? This is just something, a little cheeky saying I have when I'm talking to my friends about finances, or how I was able to afford a lot of the things I have without sacrificing my lifestyle, without saying no to Starbucks or going out to eat or anything like that. I said, look, the reason I'm able to do that is because of strategic budgeting. Ice cream in the freezer is a good analogy for this. What happens if you bring home a tub of ice cream and you keep it in your freezer and you say, okay, I'm only gonna eat it on Saturdays or weekends or after a workout? Well, that's good and that works for a week, but down the road you're gonna crack, you're gonna tap into it, and you're gonna eat it because it tastes freaking delicious. All right, ice cream in the freezer works the same way with money. If you keep all your money in one spot, it's like keeping ice cream in the freezer. You're eventually gonna tap into it. So what you gotta do, what I would recommend, and I do in my life, is I have separate accounts for different goals. I have one account for my checking. That's just my straight checking account. I have a PayPal account for my business expenses. So, if I outsource anything on my website, it goes through that. If I pay for new camera gear that I use for my business, it goes through that. And then I have another one that's just for investing. So I have a separate account altogether for saving money that I invest in the stock market. Okay, so having those 3 accounts, it's great. Because now it's like having 3 different freezers I can keep ice cream in. I say this is the weekend freezer, this is the weekday freezer, and this is the party freezer, having a good time. So don't trust yourself. The moral of the story is that we're not always good with our willpower. Keep your money in separate accounts for separate goals. Next thing, focus on big wins. This is a concept from I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Great concept that his whole thing is like, most of the personal finance advice sucks. And it's talking about penny pinching. And that's a miserable way to live. And that when you focus on the big wins, that's actually how you get rich. What are the big wins? They're negotiating your salary. Most people don't negotiate their pay enough. And you get a 6-month raise if you're working a job, right? You should be negotiating at least every 6 months and always try and get more because that adds up over time. That can be the difference of $10,000 a year, it really can. That's a huge win. That's so much better than if you tried to really deprive yourself of like a $2 latte every single day or something like that, or a night out every single week. So when you focus on those big wins, like when you buy a house, okay, well, what kind of rate are you getting on the loan that you're paying for 20 or 30 years? That's a big win. Go all in on that. Or how much did you pay for the house? When you prioritize in terms of most effective, most impactful to least impactful, you can give all your time and energy to the things that really, really matter. Great thing he talks about is getting out of debt. Because debt's expensive. It's an expensive place to be, and you can never obviously be rich if you're in debt. And so that's a big win for him. It's focusing creative ways to get out of debt. Number 5 way I saved money was actually inspired by minimalism, that whole concept. And this isn't a video on minimalism and getting rid of stuff. It's just something I've experienced and been experimenting with the past probably 6 months. And the way I approach minimalism isn't stripping everything down into black and whites and throwing everything out and living with like 2 t-shirts. It's that just finding things that really bring you joy and only having those around you. And when you're able to get rid of all the clutter, all the stuff you don't need, ironically, you end up buying less and you don't fill that space. Because I used to think that if I got rid of everything, I'd just buy more space to fill it, but it's actually the opposite. I don't buy anything hardly at all. So a good way to save money is to try and get rid of stuff you already have. You don't even have to sell it. You could just throw it away. Strip everything down to the essentials and you'll be surprised at what little you need. A good tip I heard online is, if you're ever thinking of buying things, well, if you can't afford to buy 5, you can't afford to buy 1. I love that saying because it also paints the picture of like, should you really be spending your money on something? If you can't buy 5, you shouldn't buy 1. If you can't buy 5 iPhones, you shouldn't probably buy the new one. If you can't buy 5 MacBooks, you probably don't need a new one. Point number 6, this is to audit yourself. Now, a great way to save money is to get honest with where you're at. And I got this out of Kevin O'Leary's book, the guy from Shark Tank, the bald dude. I got it from his book, Men, Women, and Money, The Cold Hard Truth. And he's talking about a 90-day number that you should know without a shadow of a doubt what your 90-day number is. That is the money in and money out. So how much you spent, total number for 90 days, and how much you made, total number for 90 days, and then the difference. Is it positive or is it negative? Obviously, if it's negative, you're losing money. It's not very good. If it's positive, you're earning money. So if it's negative, find ways to cut back. Find ways to focus on those big wins. Or if it's positive, find ways to keep going and doing what you're doing. Another great way to audit yourself, and what I implemented, was taking just a sheet in my journal, right? And on one side, one page, I had all my fixed expenses. So my rent, my car insurance, my food bill, some business services I have, things that would not change. And then on the other side, I had the things that were making me income for 90 days. So, YouTube ads or journal sales or Video Breakthrough Academy or courses or coaching, all that stuff, income. And then in the middle, you can do like a little 1-inch or 2-inch of things you can improve, things you could change. And at the bottom, you have your 90-day number. It's a great exercise you can implement. Way number 7, I saved $12,000 in 6 months. weeks is I got educated. I continue to educate myself with finances. Anything about this topic is really fascinating. And it's something I got Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book we discussed and we'll discuss again here this year, is that financial IQ is something you don't learn in school. And if you do, it's stiff and it's about keeping a budget and, you know, saving money on whatever. And so we need to be proactive in educating ourselves on how to become rich. That just like anything else, finances is a skill, and you got to develop the literacy so you can have things work for you, not against you. Because a lot of this stuff no one's going to teach you, and you have to teach yourself. So a couple books I recommend and that I read on this exact same topic and that I continue to read and get inspired by. Unshakable, we did a book summary on this channel, I'll link in the description, by Tony Robbins. The second one, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, kind of a continuation or precursor to that book on there. Those are phenomenal books. Men, Women, and Money on The Cold Hard Truth, Kevin O'Leary. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. And the last one is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those are all good places to start and educate yourself a little bit more. There you go. Those are the 7 tips I use. Again, the biggest one is that Capital app and just automating this whole system. So links in the description below. If you want to check it out, go for it. Great. Hope those tips help. If they do, leave yours in the comments below. Leave your best money saving tip or way you went about it in your life, personal story. I love reading those in the comments below. I'll also link 3 things down there. The first 3 things. First one is the free 11 questions change your life. If you're into that, it's at refusingtosettle.com. The second is a free ebook on how to start your own video-based online business that generates passive income, the YouTube Success Formula. I'll leave that in the link below. Exactly, pulling back the curtain, how I'm doing all this stuff you're seeing right now. And the third is our Facebook Mastermind group. If you're not in that, if you're not connected with like-minded people, come on over. Invitation's there. It's a closed group, so you do have to get approved, but just apply and the admins will let you in shortly. That's it. Till next time, stop settling, start living. See ya.